Hi, my name is Michael. I'm here to provide you with some information about antidepressants. Um, Based off my personal experience, I want to talk about what I've taken, the antidepressants that I've stopped taking, what have been helpful, and what I'm currently taking now. There's not very much information about antidepressants and people's experience on the internet, especially for the antidepressant MAOIs, which monoamine oxidase inhibitors, which are kind of older drugs, older antidepressants, and that are extremely effective from what I've read and from what I've noticed of since I've started taking one. Nardil is the name of it, and I'd like to talk about that. First of all, a little bit about myself. So I've been suffering from. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. I don't know how many years ago, a long time ago, and I've had episodes of depression. It comes, yeah, it's been episodal series of depression. The initial medications that I was taking for about 4 years, and that worked excellent for me for about 3 of those years, and stopped. I think they stopped working. Were the combination of Wellbutrin 450 milligrams, Effexor 300 milligrams, and lithium 900 milligrams. These doses were all titrated up slightly over the course of 2 years. Like I said, I took this combination of antidepressants for 3 years, and I think that they worked pretty well. But over the last year and a half, I noticed not any crash into a major depressive episode, but just kind of a low mood, low energy, and kind of I just didn't feel like they were working for me anymore. And so I decided to try a different medication. After doing research on MAOIs, I decided to try and switch to the drug Nardil. I tapered off, as recommended by my psychiatrist, I decided to taper off both the Wellbutrin and the Effexor over the course of about, it's supposed to be 5 half-lives to achieve a washout period that's sufficient to introduce an MAOI because of the risk of getting serotonin syndrome. And I tapered off these medications after being on them for 4 or 5 years. I did notice some withdrawal. I don't know from what it was, the Wellbutrin or the Effexor, but I kind of jumped the gun, I think, and I took the initiated the Nardil. Um, it was close to the full 5 half-life washout period, but I don't think it quite made it because I did get serotonin syndrome. I know because I started getting vomiting and just confusion. It was really a horrible experience that didn't last. It lasted for a couple days, but I recommend being very careful about the contraindication between SSRIs and MAOIs, and even err on the side of uh, spending more time to get the SSRI out of your system before initiating the MAOI. I think I'm especially sensitive, so that affected me quite a bit. When that happened, I immediately stopped taking the Nardil. I waited for the Wellbutrin and the Effexor to totally leave my system, and I noticed that I started feeling much better off of these medications that I've been on for 5 years. I started to feel like I had more energy. I started to feel just less depressed, and especially I noticed that I kind of felt as if I had a full spectrum of my emotions back. And so I decided not to get on the Nardil and to try and see how things would go without any kind of medication, except for the lithium, 900 milligrams, which I still take. I don't think that that has any much beneficial effect, as I'm not bipolar, but I think it was more of an augmentative strategy for the other two, Wellbutrin and Effexor. And so I was basically, essentially, I think I was off pretty much everything, and I felt better. So that's what was really surprising. I want to get across is that these medications, Wellbutrin and Effexor, after 5 years, were actually making me feel more depressed. It's strange. I've been trying to wrap my head around that for a while, and I can't quite. I can't get it. That they were making me feel noticeably more depressed. It could be due to just feeling less subdued emotionally. So I decided to stay off these medications, and it lasted for about 2 or 3 months until my daughter was born, and this kind of triggered a new depressive episode, just because of stress, and also there was an issue with employment, and so there were situational factors that caused my depression to trigger back in, and that's when I started taking Nardil for 45 milligrams a day, and I noticed, I think after about 2 weeks, yeah, a relief from that slightly. I could immediately tell that this MAOI was much more potent than the SSRIs, and I think that it pulled me out of that depressive episode pretty quick. But I went back into another one shortly after, which is really uncharacteristic of my depression in general. It's usually, mine is very gradual, and it doesn't go down that hard, and it kind of comes back up and then it goes down. But this time it was a very severe drop. I felt extremely depressed for about a week on the MAOI at about 1.5 weeks, or I'm sorry, 1.5 months. But and also the rapidity that I was able to recuperate from that depressive episode and feel normal again was surprisingly rapid, which I don't attribute to, which is uncharacteristic of my depression to be as well. And so this MAOI, from what all I can gather, is I've had these kind of peaks and valleys of of depression, and they've been somewhat lower than I've ever experienced and higher than I've ever experienced. And I don't know how much of that I can attribute to the medication, as far as the lowness of it, but it's strange. It's a very, it feels like a different medication, and I'm kind of I'm a little skeptical about it, just because I don't feel the same kind of evenness that I have, in the past on SSRIs. But I do notice that the rapid the rapid kind of recovery from these quick depressive episodes have been that have been surprising for me and uncharacteristic. So right now I've been on Nardil 45 milligrams for about 7 weeks, and I feel okay, but I'm kind of walking on eggshells, kind of not walking on eggshells, I'm kind of whistling in the dark, actually. I don't know how tomorrow will be. So I want to get that out there, just as it being information about someone else's experience on an MAOI, and I'll try to keep you posted as as my um, as my experience on this medication continues, or if I stop taking it, I'll try and repost again. Uh, so yeah, it's been about 7 weeks. So that's still not quite. That's around the time that they say that the antidepressant will have full effect, 6 to 8 weeks. But that's also relative. It really depends. Antidepressants are something that are really so subjective. I feel it depends on the person. It depends on your diet. Otherwise, it depends on your sleep schedule. It depends on so many things. The way these medications affect you, and it's almost impossible to explain. But either way, I hope that my experience with this medication uh, will provide some kind of help for anyone else that's thinking about taking it or is taking it currently. Okay, good luck in your medication regimens, and take care.